Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jay,
Welcome back. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good.
So, guys, if
Good.
it's your first time checking us out, this is our review show of Game of Thrones. That's serving as not only a first watch for JT of the show, and a rewatch for me, my first rewatch of the show after having seen it years ago when it first was on the air. And yeah, we get together here. We do kind of like an overview of episode by episode of Game of Thrones, and make sure that you're subscribed to the network. Hit the notification bell to be notified of when these episodes do go out. They come out weekly, usually on Thursdays at 8. They air live for you guys, and yeah, we've been kind of doing them weekly, keeping to that schedule. And last episode, we had a great guest on, Christina, who joined us for episodes 3 and 4 of season 3. So definitely go check that out, and you'll be seeing her again later on in season 3 as well. But and as well as other guests, hopefully coming up as well in seasons coming up that we've planned on having on. So yeah, yeah, today we're here to talk about let's see here, season 3, episode 5, Kissed by Fire was this one. And first off, right off the bat here, Jay, what were your overall thoughts of this one? Now, guys, you have to excuse me, Jay. You might have to kind of remind me of some things as we go through here, because it took Jay so long to watch these episodes. I feel like I've watched these like 2 weeks ago now, Jay, when I took my notes. So he was really dragging his feet on this one, these ones, guys, but that's okay. Jay, so what did you think of this one overall?
Overall, it was a great episode. Like I said, I did. These ones had a lot of little learning things, little things that I probably keep an eye on and see what's going to be up and coming and in the next few episodes or seasons. I don't know if it's setting stuff up. That's what I kind of got out of it.
Sure.
Not as exciting, let's say, like you said, as the last two, but we'll see how these ones roll out at the end of it all, because they seemed very like informative, I guess, in ways.
We're honestly like, and I know we've talked about this already, but as you can see already, I think this season's the best season, and we're only halfway through it, right? Like this has been the most eventful, if not like well done
So
season.
far,
Yeah, so far. That's what I mean. This is where it kind of kicks into high gear, and I think many fans would agree. Because you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, even though this is maybe, like you said, it's not as eventful as we had mentioned as maybe the last 2 episodes, it was still a really solid episode and a great episode, right? And like, I think we're at a really great like I can't wait for more, because like as things are starting to develop and we're seeing some of this stuff happen in this season, it just reminds me of so many other things that I know are coming up in future seasons, right? So it's been really good this season, I gotta say. So yeah, I agree. It was a good episode. So getting into it here.
I'm really liking my lawn care guy. He's in. I'm really enjoying that lawn care commercial guy. The orange hair.
Oh, lawn chair commercial, guys.
The lawn care. He's doing the lawn care. I think it's lawn care
Who
of
is?
some sort. This guy here. What's his name? I can never remember his
Oh,
name.
the
The redhead.
the wildling guy. Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, where are you going with this? I did see him on that commercial. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it throws me now. Every time I see him now on Game of Thrones, I'm like, isn't this guy gonna get skirts at what's it? Scott's Turf Builder?
He was also
Sorry.
recently in Cocaine Bear. If anybody's seen that, Torum or whatever his name was, or what the hell's that guy name? Wildling. Hold on,
I got a picture of him. I just don't have his. He's the one when he's no. Is he the Wilding?
Tormund.
Richard Domer.
Tormund.
Huh?
Tormund.
Yeah, yeah.
I said Torum. Yeah, sorry. It's funny because there's actually a comic book writer, a woman. whose name is Torum Grunbeck. She's like Swedish or something too, or that's her like her pen name or whatever. So that's why I said Torum instead of Tormund. But yes,
Oh, okay.
that guy's awesome. I'm glad you like that guy. That guy's a really cool character. So yeah, so getting into it here, the episode starts off with Thoros setting up basically the death by combat ritual there, like because at the end of the last episode where we left it, basically they said, you know, with the mountain there, or sorry,
Mm-hmm.
with the hound,
Hound.
that they were going to you know, if he wanted his freedom, then he would have to fight in like a, you know, a death by combat type thing. So, and Thoros is basically there setting it up, and they're doing their whole ritual to the Lord of the Light. And then Beric lights his sword on fire, and
What did he light it on fire? Didn't he put his blood on it and then light it on fire? Was that what I seen?
saying he gets it lit on fire. Yes, what you're seeing is the case because they all follow this whole Lord of the Light. You know, this stuff they
I
worship. And so
I thought about cutting myself and lighting it on fire to see if it worked, but like,
so there's definitely some sort of magic stuff at play here, as we've come to learn here, as you see
yeah,
this scene, and as you know, moving forward through this episode, that there's, you know, there's a lot of things happening right now that we're learning about, right? So new things that are happening. So Beric lights his sword on fire. He gets his sword lit on fire, basically, and he starts fighting him you know, against the Hound, which we know the Hound is fucking scared of fire. So I don't know how this guy even was able to, like, he was flailing,
stand there.
he was like, you know, he was trying his best to knock this guy out quick because he was scared of what of it. You could see it in his eyes, but like we seen the guy run away from a fire, and now this guy's fighting a dude with a flaming sword. You know what I mean? Like I thought that was a pretty gutsy move on his part. I was just like, I guess he didn't really have a choice in the matter, but yeah.
I was gonna say he didn't have much of a choice.
Oh, so anyways, so he start, you know, they kind of do they fight it out. The Hound ends up winning the fight though. He drives his sword into him on like one
He
half.
did a nice shot, man. That was nice, bro.
Yeah.
That was. It just sliced right through, so like a piece of cheese. It had he had metal there too. It wasn't even like
Right. And then you know,
Oh,
Thoros runs over there, and somehow, you know, you see Beric there somehow survived, you know, left standing at the end there. Like he goes over and he's doing something to him, you know, he's saying whatever, and like and then you can see him kind of just sitting there wounded, just kind of standing there but alive, right? Everyone just
yeah.
and you know, basically Arya then in that moment attempts to finish off the Hound, seeing that he won the fight, and she was pissed off about that because he is one of these people that she's sworn that she wants to see taken down, that's on
Yeah.
her list essentially, right? So she kind of tries to make a half-ass attempt at, you know, trying to kill him, but then she stopped, right, like in that moment, from doing so.
She's done that a few times, where she tries to get a little ballsy and she pulls out something, but she doesn't have the. I'm waiting for her to actually do it,
Yeah.
right? Because I can see where I mean it's coming to that point, right? Somewhere along the line of her journey, I can see that happening, but I just don't know when she's gonna have the balls to do it,
Yeah.
right?
So yeah, so he's alive at the end of this fight somehow. You see him
So
alive.
doesn't he say something, and I can't remember. There was something he said to him as he was on the ground
He does. He came
bleeding.
over there and he started saying something to him, and like, yeah, I didn't write down what he said, but basically he seems like he saved him from dying essentially from whatever he did, Thoros, right? And then more on that later.
Yeah,
You guys will find out more about that, and you know, in the show here, but for whatever reason, he ended up surviving despite having a sword driven through him there. So
it's pretty
then,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So then Jon is questioned in this next scene in regards to where, you know, the Night's Watch like patrols are posted up essentially. You know, the wildlings want to know, and they're asking him, and Torum threatens him to see if he's lying. He says, you know, basically they have 1,000 men at Castle Black, which he doesn't believe. He's kind of like, yeah,
Mm.
like 5,000 men. What are you talking about, right? And Egret steals Jon Snow's sword and gets him to chase her to a cave where she ends up stripping naked and throws herself at him. And
Straight up, finally.
finally Jon Snow loses his virginity after she's been flirting with him this whole time. But I guess at this point in time,
A little bit of tongueulysis or whatever. Like instead of calling you like it's kind of like whatever whatever that word is. You know what I mean?
I don't know what the hell you're trying to say.
He's the tongue man. I'm just gonna call him the tongue man from here on out.
cunning linguist.
Yeah, cunnilingus. There you go, cunnilingus. Yeah, we both were trying to think of the
It's
word.
a hard one to say. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you throw tongue in the beginning. Tongue Ulysses. Or, sorry, guys.
So he basically, says, if you're one of us, you have to break your vows and sleep with me, essentially, because she's been throwing it at him this whole time almost, and he's kind of like being resistant. But now that he's actually with them, I guess she felt open to kind of, sleeping with him finally. And now that he's not the enemy, right? And she says,
Mm.
because he knows also, I guess she thought it was naughty too, in a way, like he has his vows not to be with women anymore because he's given himself to the Night's Watch. But yeah, she threw it at him and he didn't back down. And she busts out that line once again, you know nothing, Jon Snow, and then he went down on her. Yeah.
Yeah, man, he likes that pussy. That's what I wrote, even down on my notes, man.
This is a sick cave spot to have
There's,
sex. They sleep together and then they bathe off in the springs, bro. Like that's a
well, I mean, I seen them bathe afterwards, not before, and after all that walking and sweating. I don't know, man. I wonder what flavor it was. 31 different flavors in Game of Thrones, buddy.
boy. Yeah. I mean, clearly Jon doesn't know what he's doing because his first thing that he busts out is going down on somebody after, like you said, just being in the mountains for I don't fucking know how long. So yeah, he clearly didn't know what he was doing there. So
Uh,
uh,
apparently he did. I think she liked it.
seemed very happy with it. That's true. Yeah. So then they agreed to let the Hound go after winning the fight. In as we go back to these guys from the start.
Thought it was a round two coming.
And they say as the Lord of the Light made it so, and Arya's pissed, and they took his money, right? So like basically, they took his money and they let him go. They because they ended up taking him to prisoner or whatever, and these guys are guys that need funds, obviously, to keep doing what they're doing with this, like, the fact that they travel and they serve no like under nobody, and you know what I mean. It's kind of like a Robin Hood-esque situation of sorts, you know what I mean. So it's kind of like
But they just steal from everybody and
Harry
keep for
Mack.
themselves.
Yeah, it's the kind of that kind of situation. So they said, yeah, you can go on your way now. We'll release you. You won the fight fair and square, and yeah, but we'll take your money. And Arya is pissed about the whole thing, kind of like disgusted that they let him live despite everything, right?
Mhm.
And we cut back over to Jaime. There he makes it to Lord Bolton, who I guess now we find out was their captor. After getting his hand cut off there, and he's with Brienne, and he believes that the news of the Battle of Blackwater. No, sorry, he delivers the news of the Battle of Blackwater to him because obviously he doesn't know this, Jaime, because they've been on the road this whole time, and he lets him know about what went down there. And and then he fucks with him a bit about how his sister maybe he's not alive, right? Like which fucks with Jaime's head, obviously, because we know he
Mhm.
loves her a certain way. And then he basically says I'm gonna free Brienne, and he gets a doctor to look at his hand wound, and
Well, yeah, it was just some. I don't even know. Didn't they call him another Meister of some sort or another buddy
yeah,
like yours?
I mean they all have like the Meister of like like the
Is
doctor.
this supposed to be like Mister or Doctor or something? Yeah.
He says, it's the safest route due to the infection is to take his whole arm,
Wow.
which he doesn't want. And he says, okay, well then, I can cauterize the wound, which Jamie is agreeable to. And because he offers to give him milk of the poppy to soften the blow of the pain that he's gonna fucking about to endure, which he refuses.
He's a fucking man. Hey, this guy just really just says, hey, just light him up.
Yeah, so yeah,
No painkillers, nothing.
fight on this then, bud, because I'm gonna go to town here. He starts like picking at the bone and the wound.
Oh, it looks so kind of cool, but I mean, still.
I mean, but once he actually cauterized it, it would stop the infection from spreading and everything else. But
Nowadays, they could have probably reattached it.
I don't know. It was gone for a couple of days.
I don't know if they had it in ice, maybe in the camping bucket or something like that. Go
uh,
on.
so then Cersei meets with Lord Baelish and says that House Tyrell does not hold the best interests of the crown at heart, and he says, "Have you met with your father to talk about this?" Lord Baelish, right? Trying to like doesn't want any part of this. And she deflects and says, since he was good with, he has a good working relationship with the Tyrells, I would like you to look into it before you leave. As we know, he's about to leave
Yeah.
the King's Landing there to
He's
go
better head out. Yeah.
marry that other what's her name sister, Catelyn's sister there, so he can become lord of whatever that place is, right? And,
Oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I can't. What is that? Lord of. Where is the stat? Where is she?
yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. I forgot the name,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's where he's going. So, but she kind of, he tries to deflect it back and say, yeah, maybe we should talk to your father about this, and she was just like, no, I want you to take care of this. He's like, all right. Yeah. And then we see Tyrion meets with Olenna Tyrell, the grandmother, to discuss the financials. This is a great scene in regards to the upcoming.
She's a badass, eh?
She's the best. Great.
She remind me of my grandmother like that. Just attitude.
Old and doesn't give a shit. Like she's just like, yeah, you're not gonna tell me what to do. Like
She's only like 45 though in this show, dude. Like it really, that's old back then.
so he's he's there to discuss the financials in regards to the upcoming extravagant wedding as master of coin, his new appointed role there, and he says
He's
that.
just flexing his role, eh?
Well, he has to. Then what does he have right now, right? So he says that, but he did find out that they were in a big load of debt. Like he did find out that last episode, right? So he
Yeah.
said, he's like, listen, like we're currently at war, and she's like, and then she's like, oh yes, I know that. Like, let me remind you of the wartime expenses that we've contributed and helped like save you guys recently in this war, right? And she mentions that the people in times of war require distractions as well, to which if they do not provide, they will attack them in response. So basically she's saying, yeah, well, too bad. This wedding has to happen
Yeah,
because,
you need to have a little bit of fun.
well, that's what she says. If you don't put on this show for the people of King's Landing, they will retaliate against us. And they will, your people don't like you as it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if you don't fucking do something for them, like this extravagant wedding, then we're going to pay the price. She basically says, yeah. And she says, like, traditionally, this is provided by the royal family. And he was like, but he was disappointed that he's just like, she basically says, like, I'm disappointed in you just to find out that you're a mere bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And like, and basically by the end of it, though, so they could not have this fucking conversation anymore, she
Yeah.
agrees to pay for her half of the expenses and runs off in a huff. Like she's just like, all right, whatever. Like fucking, I'll pay for half, you cheap bastards. And she's like, well, actually, normally
She
it's
did it good, bro.
okay, yeah, but she's just like, whatever. I don't want to have this fucking conversation anymore. She's just like, all right, I'll pay half, whatever. Okay, but it's funny because it seemed like she had maybe a little bit more respect for him. And then as soon as he started hitting her up for money, she's just like, well, I'm saddened to hear that you're just basically, it turns out you're just a fucking bookkeeper around here. Like, I thought you were smart, like better than.
Yeah, I thought you were the son of the king. Like fuck.
So that was
Oh,
a funny moment. And and
but she said there. I think somewhere in there too, she had mentioned that that she gave him a little bit of credit to a part, but she kind of just sprinkled it in there a little bit, saying that he's better than that,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And then she said, yeah. Then at the end, she just says, fuck it, I'll pay half."
Yeah.
Like I got the money, bitches.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever, man. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And,
Coins.
yeah,
We don't even use coins anymore.
exactly. Master of coin. So Gendry, we cut back over to him. He's mending Lord Beric's armor. He says he will be staying on as their blacksmith, their armor smith, essentially. Arya is upset at this news, and she says, that they would leave tomorrow, and she says that he's done serving other men. Like he's finally seems like he's found his place with the guys without banners, this group, right? And he kind of tells her like, I'm needed.
Brothers without Isn't it Brotherhood without banners?
So he says like, I'm needed here. I'm tired of running, and like I feel a part of the team here essentially. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he feels accepted by this group. And Arya is upset, and basically she says, well, apparently I'm not enough family for you, and
But
she's
she
upset.
can be his family, she said.
Yeah.
He just wants to, I'll make you my wife. You'd be my wife. That's what he said to her.
But
I thought it was weird.
he also says like, I can't be family with you because like he knows about her lineage of like royalty as well, right? So
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, this is more my speed here. So Okay, so then the Lannister boys there, Martin and Willem, are killed by Richard Karstark under Robb's watch for revenge as to the deaths of his sons. And who one of them was strangled, if you guys remember, by Jaime when he tried to escape from their like when early, I think it was in season 2 that happened, I believe, right? That's when he remember when he made that attempt and he choked out one of them in remember he choked out his own family, and then basically the guards came in. I think he killed them when he tried to escape. Like, remember when he was like in they had him locked up, and he tricked one of the other Lannister family members, like a cousin of his, to come closer, and he killed him, and then he used that attempt to get like his lock open, remember? And then he tried to escape. So then
Yeah.
the guards that were there, one of them, I guess, got killed by Jaime. That was one of this guy's sons, and he's been bitching about it for some time. Like,
Oh
that,
yeah, when Lady Stark let him go,
right?
kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
He bitched about it back then.
The old man. Yeah.
And the other one died on the battlefield, apparently, I guess, in being with
Rob.
Rob. And basically, they say, it was treason to kill 2 innocent children in retribution, though. Like, why the fuck are you, like, because the 2 children that they were holding on to, again, where they were trying to use for, like, I guess, like collateral or something in their war efforts. And he and the fact that he killed the kids without like their say so is pretty fucked up. And and then he calls Robb out. He says, he's the king that lost the North. Like, he basically says that to Robb. He's like, you're not the king of the North, you're the king that lost the North. And Robb is advised to keep silent about the nephew's deaths from Tywin, because they advise him that they require the Karstark's assistance to win the war still. So if he were to go and let them know about what had went down and that these kids were dead, and or if he turns his back and fights this other dude, this Karstark guy, they're gonna lose their support. Something that they badly need in this war, because they are losing right now, right? And so there's like a whole kind of like discussion about this, and like even the wife is in on this and everything, and saying like, maybe, in the mother and his uncle, and they basically say to win the war, let him know that he will spare his life and keep him as a hostage in the meantime till they win the war, essentially. Instead of like, that's the only punishable offense they said they could really do at this point to the Karstark guy, for killing the children, right? And basically, avoid more people getting killed. And Robb, it listens to all his advisors, doesn't agree clearly, because then he fucking takes him out and continues to talk shit about him and Robb and his leadership, and he proceeds to cut his head off.
Shit, man. You don't fuck around with Rob lately, man. I'm starting to learn that. You don't fuck around with Rob, man.
I gotta say though, he's not his father, because his anger, I think,
It's starting to get the best of him. I'm starting to notice that.
not his father in that sense. His father was more calm in these situations.
It's funny because I feel like Jon Snow is more like that, more calmer in that sense. Man, fuck, he's still a virgin for fuck's sakes to this episode. Took 3 seasons.
I totally agree with you. I mean, he does have Ned's blood in him, even though he's a bastard. He is part
Yeah.
of Ned's blood still. So I
And the
think
first one too, no, or the second? Was it? I can't remember if it was the first or it came after Rob.
it was after Robb, I believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when he went to war. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So that's really interesting, man. Like, you're right. That is the case, I feel, as well. You can see more of Ned and Jon than you do in Robb, because Robb, obviously, he listens to all this advice that he gets from his family and everybody else there, and he's just like, nah, fuck this. Like, he goes, takes him out, he kills him. He's just like, it was fucked up that he killed the children. I mean, he was surprised that his wife even sided with them in that decision. He's kind of like, are you serious? Like, this guy killed children, right? Like, he's just like, so I don't disagree with him, but at the same time, it's like, in that situation that they're already in a losing war, they couldn't afford to lose more support, right? So I think it's pretty shitty. That is a kind of a selfish move, I think, in that sense. He's just like, I don't like this. So I'm gonna do something about it. Like, fuck
I'm gonna
all
show you I'm boss, man.
yeah.
I'm not the king that lost the North, for fuck's sake. So I'll have to make up that I'm the king that cuts people's heads off who talk like that.
I'm glad that guy enjoyed talking shit when he still had his head on his shoulders, though. He was really talking some shit to him out there. Right? So then we see Thoros, right? Is that the next scene? Am I on the right side?
Arya had a talk with her, yeah, with
Yeah, Thoros
bringing
mentions
him
that
back
he
to
will
life.
bring Arya to River Run to her brother Robb, and she's kind of like, again, like, what do you mean, like, and he's like, well, listen, we're gonna receive a contribution to our cause in return from your brother. Again, it seems like they're more about money in order to continue doing what they want to do at this point in time, because we've already had the mention of them how they robbed the Hound, and now you see them basically giving her up, even though she may not want to do that, as a result of like hoping for Robb to put something back up to them, in return, right?
Mm.
And Beric then joins them at the fire, and Thoros, this is kind of where we now discover what, a little bit more about the situation, why he survived and everything. He mentions that he has said the proper words to bring him back to life as granted by the Lord of the Light 6 times now and counting. With
It's
the
not
fight
possible.
that just happened with the Hound, right? And basically they said the mountain, and then he kind of went through the times that he got killed, and he mentions that the mountain, the Hound's brother, had killed him the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows off his wounds that he's acquired, basically, like, from everything. And he says, every time I come back, I'm a bit less. He's like, pieces of you chipped away, which is kind of like, if you ever seen anything when there's resurrection involved, that is always the risk that you run. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you've ever seen that in certain other, like, movies or TV, when they've talked about people coming back from the dead, that is a common trait, like, of like, they're never the same, like, when they come back, and then they kind of feels like they're not. You know what I mean? Like, but I will say, like, he seems more of a person. He's not a zombie, though. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, because we've seen that happen, I think, in other stuff too, where they resurrect a person, but they're like, their mind is warped, right? This guy still seems, but he is explaining that he does lose something of himself every time he does that, right? But the fact that this guy's killed 6 times, man, and this guy's running back, like, good for him. Yeah. I don't know what he's out there doing to himself. He's getting killed 6 times, but this is a crazy world that these guys live in.
Well,
As we,
he told you all the scars. He points them all out what they all did.
yeah.
Right?
Arya then mentions her father in this moment, and basically he's like, too bad it won't work for him, essentially, because she mentions, like, like,
They can bring him back to life.
is there a time limit on this thing, right?
Oh yeah, I think she asked if there was no head, right? If the head was off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way. So unfortunately,
So now, from there, we go and we have another really interesting scene here.
this was different. This was kind of cuckoo.
This is what I think we alluded to it in the last episodes with Christina. Where I think
Okay.
Stannis was brought up, and we didn't say specifically, we didn't hint at it, but I just said you're gonna learn more about Stannis coming up, right? Because I think Christina knew where I was coming from, because you had mentioned something about him, and I was just like, yeah, we really don't even know Stannis all too well at this point. Like, this is a fucked up kind of reveal here, right? So Stannis Baratheon visits his wife, Selyse, who I guess he's got
See,
kind of
but
up to.
that's not even it's his wife that's the cuckoo one there. Like I don't even know if he's part of it because he's got the redhead. What's her name? Melisandre, is that her
Yeah,
name?
Sandra, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's wife's
So
also a little bit of cuckoo, but I mean, it's also because of, like, being married to this guy. Like, I don't know, like, he clearly doesn't care, but she's delusional. The wife, she's got it in her head, like, you know what I mean? Like, that he's doing his thing and whatever, right? And he says that he sinned, and when he's to admit cheating and to her, and Lady Melisandre's part in this, and she says that she knows everything, and that's the
she
kind of
knew
the
already. Yeah.
right, and basically that Melisandre told her. So maybe Melisandre put her under a spell or something, right? Like, who knows? Maybe she's kind of got in her head or threatened her or something, because she seems like, I mean, we've had the wife shunted off to the side this whole time. We didn't even know he had a wife, and then
You never knew
wife,
until this.
right? And then you see the wife, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, I already know that you're fucking banging with woman and everything else, right?" I was just like, "What?"
Sounds like one of those wives on the happy pills.
Yeah. And so yeah, I told her it
Milk of
all.
the poppy.
Basically says, yeah, she told it all to her, and that it was in service to make him king. Like, it was all part of it, essentially. So she's, like, again, delusional about this. And then you kind of see, like, basically, so he apologizes that she was unable to give him a child, like a boy, and you see baby fetuses, it looks like, in jars,
Oh,
like, around,
dude,
like,
it was crazy. But like, yeah, man, where do they get these jars? Like, I haven't seen glass really, except for certain things in this series.
well, and then he kind of, like, when she apologizes but not being able to give him a boy, he's like, no, that's not true. You have given me a child. And then, they're basically referencing his daughter here, who is basically hidden away singing, in this scene. And she's got Grace. Well, they didn't describe what it is yet, but it's something you'll see
Hold
later
on, I'll
on.
show you.
She's got something on her face. Like it's,
Can I show you?
yeah, go ahead. Put up the picture. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't,
no, I
I don't,
know.
I don't
It
know if
looks
they,
like scales.
so it's called Grayscale. It'll come up later in the series. I don't know if they referenced it here, or
I
if they,
thought they did.
okay. So it's Grayscale is what it's called. Yeah. That
Yeah,
picture. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the even more
she
fucked
was
up.
so cute.
This is the more fucked up part about this, though. He's got her hidden from the world, it seems like, because of her like weird whatever, like disease or whatever she's got going on in her face, right? So basically
Yeah,
something called grayscale. You find out this girl's like kind of like off again, like locked away, like hidden away too. It seems like him and his wife, right? So but this is when you see him go and talk to her. And the daughter, she basically catches up with her, and she asks where her friend Sir Davos is, and he says, it's best to forget him, and you probably won't see him again. And that he's
traded.
and she's upset by this because she's like, oh, but he's my friend, right? Like Sir Davos, right? And yeah, he basically says like, yeah, don't worry about him. He's a traitor. You're never gonna see this guy again, so don't worry.
He must go spend the time with her because they were close before, right? Davos and Stannis, right?
Yes, of course, yeah. Well, he would have been his hand to the king.
Yeah, so it was like a godfather to goddaughter sort of
As
thing.
you know, he now has lost his trust in Davos because of Melisandre, his decision not to have her at the battle, and that's why he's got him locked up currently, right? So,
Yeah,
um, so then we see Jaime goes to take a bath while Brienne is bathing, and
you got a double ass cheek shot, man, from both of them.
he lets him know, like, hey, there's other baths, like, you don't have to join mine, and which he fucking ignores and jumps in, and
This
you
one's fine.
he talks shit about her vow to protect him in in One Piece and how well that's been going on his hand. Because at this point now it's been cauterized sitting in the pool there, right? But it's still obviously raw and shit. And he talks shit about he talks shit about her in that sense, and then she jumps up naked out of the bath there, and basically is like about to like trounce on him. And he basically calls a truce. Like he's just like, she's pissed off when he says that to her, right? So you say, okay, truce, and this is where we see Jaime open up about what occurred with him and the king to make him the Kingslayer. And he really goes into detail here where he hasn't really before. Well, I mean, he opened up about
Caught
it.
of it last season, last episode, right?
Yeah, well, he's opened up about it one other time, but again, this is the first time he showed how it really has affected him, and how he's so despised by everybody, and how he begged for him to surrender, but yet how his father proceeded, like in order to give him the order to do this, right? Like he told him, he's like, you made the king. He didn't want to kill him. Like that's what he was trying to say. Like
He
he's
was
like,
trying to get him to back down, yeah,
and 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 and,
surrender.
and then the king made him kill people and burn them, like, and stuff like that. So like he was really like, his back was against the wall, and he basically he said, take his father's head and bring it to him. The king told him to take his father's head, Tywin, and kill him and bring it to him. And Jaime flipped out in retaliation instead of listening to the king's orders, and he killed them. And he's like, basically, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
This was all the Mad King, right? This was all, yes, the Mad King and all that when he was
But
working, when he was with Robert there.
he tries to say that he tried to reason with him, and he didn't want to follow his orders anymore and all this. But then he started to ask him to do fucked up shit, like kill his father and everything else. And then he said like he really had no choice. And you could tell, like, I think he's like crying here almost, or he is like, right. Like he's just basically like, he's really, yeah, he starts like,
He wanted to burn the fire. Like, he wanted to burn the city down with the wildfire. He was going all fucking nuts, and Jamie's trying to get him to fucking back down, right? He
well,
was saying,
Brienne then says like, why didn't you tell anyone this? And like,
"Mm,
you know what I mean? Like, and like, why didn't you tell Ned Stark, or like she questions why, like he basically just took this on. Like you know what I mean? Like he did this. He took all the fucking people hating him as a result of all this, and yet he just kept this all to himself, bottled up, right?
it's
Like,
like that's what I'm wondering. Was he really innocent? Like, was he really not guilty? That's what it made you feel like in that scene. I mean, I know he did what he did.
feel sorry for him a bit about his
Yeah, you have
decision.
a little bit more compassion for him.
Because the way people make it seem was that he just killed the king, like out of some treasonous type of move, where he's just like, "Fuck this guy," and like people
Yeah,
look up to him because they're like, "Oh, the Kingslayer," right? And even, but no one respects a man that doesn't respect his king in that sense either. Like, there's a lot of people that don't love who's in charge, but they know like their place, right? And like for him to go against him in that manner, like that's what like people were, I think they displeased with what went down, right? But they didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, and nor has he told anybody until this moment, right? And she just doesn't understand that. She's shocked why he would just take this on and just accept his fate and all this. He's just like, she's like, why didn't you say something? He's like, yeah, no one would care. Like, he's like, it's, I did what I did, right? So uh,
yeah.
yeah, he's really like broken.
Then he passes out.
Yeah, in her arms there. Yeah. Stannis's daughter seeks Sir Davos out. I maybe look up her name. Put Stannis.
Princess, what the fuck was her name? He said it too.
Yeah.
Hold
She's
on, let me see.
in this scene, she searches out Sir Davos out in the dungeons because he's her friend, and she brought him a book to read while he's in there. And Davos admits that he can't read to her, and she offers to teach him to read and proceeds to do so in this scene. It's actually a nice moment where like she's happy to find out that he was still like, despite like what her father said, she still really likes this guy, and she was happy to see her friend. And Davos kind of tells her that your father's right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
What's
didn't
her
do
name?
right by him. And, but it's a nice scene, like where he's kind of like, you have this little girl, teaching a grown man how to read. Right. And you can
Shireen, Shireen,
Shireen, that's her name.
Shireen, like Sishireen.
Shireen.
Shireen.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
Shireen. It says Shireen Baratheon.
yeah. So it's a nice moment. It's a nice moment of like, you can tell that he has, he loves the little
He
girl.
cares for her. Yeah,
Yeah. And then Daenerys.
teaches her to read. That's the best part. She starts to teach him how to read.
Daenerys, we catch up with her, Jorah, and Lord Barristan there as they're discussing past battles, and he asks him if he believes in Daenerys, Jorah, as they're walking around, kind of watching her do her thing, and to which he says yes. And basically, because he says like, I'm tired of fighting for bad kings and people that I don't believe in. So this means a lot to me if you say that you actually believe in what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
And Daenerys speaks to the Unsullied in this scene. She asks if they've chosen a leader amongst them, and a man steps forward who says his name is Grey Worm. She says that they are all allowed now to choose their own names in place of their slave names, and Grey Worm says he wants to keep his. It's lucky in comparison to his old name, which was the name he had when he became a slave. So yeah, that's the way he looked at it, which is a kind of a unique way of looking at it, where he's like, I own this name now. And the slave that the name I had previous to like me becoming this slave was the bad was bad luck. Grey Worm has brought me nothing, but you know what I mean? He's like good things in this sense, right? So I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. But already she's kind of
Yeah.
trying to open up, like she's trying to make it better for people that
Them.
they're serving under her. She wants them to have individuality and
Yeah.
freedom, and feel
Yeah.
have the freedom to do stuff like that, right? So, um,
Yeah. She doesn't want them to be slaves. So she just wants them to be their army, but not slaves. So be their free and do what they want.
that's right. And then Barristan mentions he never liked the politics of it all, and that is, his advice wasn't taken into account as he fought for the Mad King previous to Robert Baratheon amongst his men. Says that Jorah won't be looked upon favorably by Daenerys, by being at Daenerys' side either. And because kind of letting him know, like, are you're really willing to risk it all for this situation? Because he kind of says that he's kind of fallen out of favor with the people. Like, he's not really in love with everything that's going on at King's Landing too, but he also doesn't know if this is the right move
Yeah.
either, right? So he's kind of like, well, listen, I'll go all in with you guys, but like I don't know about this situation. Like, he's trying to get reassurance from Jorah, it seemed like, in this scene, right? So
Yeah.
then we see we're back over to Robb. He's up late strategizing his next war moves when his wife comes and tells him to come to bed. he comes up with the idea to attack Casterly Rock instead of trying to attack them at King's Landing or getting them to attack them where they are currently at River Run. He basically, he will go attack them at their home. He says, and basically to do so, he will seek aid from the man whose daughter he was supposed to marry, Lord Frey, right, or Lord Walder Frey, which he's gonna have to go with hat in hand in that situation now because he's kind of fucked him over too, right, at this point by saying he was gonna wed his daughter instead. He wed this woman, right?
I almost feel like he's a little worried now. He's like, oh fuck, I screwed up this way. Maybe I got to figure out something here. I gotta, he's still, he's still dipping his toes in that sort of thing, right? So he's still trying to figure it out.
I wrote down as a note for this scene that it doesn't seem like that crazy of a fucking battle strategy, like how he couldn't figure it out and then the wife came in and everything seems so clear. Like it seemed like such an easy fucking move, like the way he's like, oh, I want to attack them here, I'll attack them over here. And I'm just like, like, really, buddy? You've been staying up all night to figure this out.
He's been staring at the table with the fucking map on it for, he looks so intrigued. Like that's why I thought I was more worried, because he was just staring at it like, okay, what am I going to do next? I don't know what the fuck to do.
Sometimes though, and we already know that he's already in a mood because of what happened with cutting the guy's head off and everything else, right? But sometimes you got to kind of take time away from something and come back and look at it with fresh eyes. You know what I mean? So maybe that was what was going on. He just couldn't see clearly anymore. Like, because it seemed like such a simple fucking solution of what he came up with, attacking them at they're technically their native home. You know what I mean? Like where their home is, but they're not there. They're at King's Landing. It would be like attacking the White House, knowing that the president is in the White House, right? You know what I mean? Like, or sorry, no. It'd be the opposite. The White House would be like King's Landing where they are staying, okay? And how all presidents are supposed to stay in there, but they don't. And instead he's attacking where the president's from, like his state, their home, right? Like that's essentially, if you're thinking of it that way, that's the genius of this fucking move that he decided to do here, right? So I just thought it was
basically what they did to him.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I don't know why this is such a revelation where he's like, oh my God, like you can see it clearly now.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, Rob, clearly you're not a fucking strategist. I was like, I don't know. I just thought it was so simple of a move. Like, yeah, it's a good move, but like, one, I don't know why he was staring at the board, like you said, for fucking hours at this point, probably, right? So,
look how intense this was. Like, they had to post a picture of him just staring at it, bro. They literally had to do this, and he's
it's a cool scene visually.
Yeah,
to see somebody, like at a war room type situation. I do love that, but like, yeah.
I'm thinking about this right now, guys. I can figure it out. Don't worry.
Looks like
Let's just move this piece to this piece.
Yeah, I know that's basically all it is. Yeah, Rob, look, that picture makes him look like he's about to drop the hottest mixtape of 2023. He's like,
grab his girl and throw her on the table. She looks nervous there. No, but
so then
swipes the board off and it becomes one of those things. No.
Yeah. Then he forgets his whole battle strategy. Oh fuck.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Yeah. Where's the pawn? Oh, it's up her ass.
And with their dick throughout war. It happens. All right. So Marjorie, she's watching her brother Sir Loras and another man's sword fight. She's sitting there with Sansa, and not that type of sword fighting guys. They're actually.
I try not to. Yeah, I've been trying not to. That's when we got pictures of this.
Yeah, she's sitting with Sansa, who asks when she would be able to help her out. To which she says, when she's married. And then the sword, basically, then he sword fights another man, and who turns out to be Baelish's spy. So yeah, I read my notes here wrong. So yeah, so you're watching him sword fight. Then Sansa asks, when she'd be able to help her out, because Marjorie has made it clear that she wants to help her in this situation and hook her up with Loras. And she says, yeah, when I'm married, like I'll have more power when I'm married. So you just got to wait for that. And then he ends up, sword fighting another man, I guess at this time, somebody who ends up turning out to be Baelish's spy, who basically goes and approaches this situation. Right. And Baelish then approaches Sansa and seems to be hitting on her, mentions that he will be leaving soon. And if she will be joining him, she says that maybe it's best that she not join him for his safety. he is agreeable and says they will speak again when he returns. But he made the move, man. That really, they were right on that, on saying that about that feather bed or whatever that this guy had in his caravan, right? He said,
Yeah, this is learning it. Oh wow. I thought he's got that look for you. He's trying to get into that Stark family somehow, bro.
Mhm.
He's evil. I feel
And of
has
course,
some evil tendencies.
nasty. He's nasty. And then what
Uh,
would an episode be without a great Tywin scene, of course, at this point in time? So you get Tyrion meets with his father Tywin, to which Cersei surprises him by being there too. And
what
he
a bitch. She's always around. I'm not really not liking that broad.
oh,
Sorry.
he
I mean, I can call her broad because isn't that what they used to say, call them back then? Yeah, it's okay.
more like wench, but
Wench. Yeah.
he mentions how he has managed to save them thousands of dollars on the way in this moment. And
Thousands.
he basically says, telling him not to worry about that now. And Cersei has said that the Tyrells have been plotting to marry off Sansa Stark to Sir Loras. So now, of course, she's tried everybody else. She does go now and whine to her father about this situation. And Tyrion says that, oh, that's great. She's a lovely girl. And then he makes a gay joke about Laura. And then Tywin's upset as Sansa is his key to the North still. And she is the heir to Winterfell, which they make note of. And he says, like, listen, we need to act first before they can make this happen, Tywin. And now he's got a vested interest in this situation, right? And making Tyrion marry her. And Tyrion's shocked by this development. He's like, well, what are you? He's like, no. He's like, yeah, you're gonna marry her. And he's like, I was married once, if you recall. Like
Yeah. Oh, they called him. Oh, yeah.
he mentions that whole thing that we learned about with him and the hooker or the whore that he married, right? And he says
She's
that
flowered, but he can marry her. She's flowered, bro.
Tywin's kind of Tywin does not give a shit. He's like, listen, you're gonna wed her, better, and put a child in her. That's that.
That's it.
Says,
That's it.
says that this is the best opportunity for you. This is what you wanted. Like he says, like everything you came to me asking for. He's like, you got your position now. You're gonna have a wife. Like this is what you wanted, right? So he's like, too bad. And then Cersei says, with a shit-eating fucking grin on her face, this is more than you deserve. You should be thankful for this. She's loving it, right? She's loving it. And then Tywin drops the fact that she will marry Sir Loras. And she's clearly upset by it. Yeah, he's just telling them who they're gonna marry now. He's like, Tyrion, you're gonna marry Sansa. You're gonna swoop in and marry Sir Loras. So there's no branching out of any powers here. We're gonna be infiltrated into all these kingdoms. Essentially, we're gonna strengthen our house essentially by doing this, right? And he's just moves this fucking Tywin, right? And,
this guy comes in and just starts throwing his fucking cock around. That's what he does, man. This Tywin, man. He's the shit. He's the Lannister.
What a cold human being, though, man. And she's upset by this. He says, like, you're my daughter. You'll do as I command. And
didn't he kind of like make a reference to Jaime?
Well, that's what he said. And as a result, this will put to bed basically any of the disgusting rumors people are saying about you.
Yeah, I know it was something like that because I remember he brought it up, and I'm like, "Ooh, wow, how does that going?"
To end it all off, he basically says, "Both of my children here have disgraced the Lannister name for too long." He storms out, leaving them just sitting there looking at each other, fucking just stewing in it. Right?
What's next? Yeah, I'm wondering, like, are they gonna plan something? This is where I mean about these episodes leaving me wondering because they're great seeds, but they're leaving you open. It's open to interpretation for episodes to come, right? So, yeah, they're gonna tag team and start being, their own buddies and help each other out, but then stab each other in the back. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird scenario, but it seems like it's plausible, right?
Tywin's a cold motherfucker, though, man. Let me tell you, like, this guy does not give a shit. Just like too
Rolls
fucking
up on his horse,
This is
saves the day.
I gotta say though, man, this guy sees all the angles. Like he knows that this would fucking he hears the thing about Sansa. He's like, oh no, we're putting a stop to that right now, right? So that he doesn't give a fuck about his kids' feelings or what they want, right? Which is pretty crazy. He's a pretty cold human being, man. This guy. So yeah, yeah.
He's never he's not somebody to fuck with. I wouldn't want him as an old man. Fuck that shit.
And neither do they. As much as Cersei, it gets pleasure from like seeing like what's his name, Tyrion go through the shit with their father, because she's kind of like, I think like, got his ear maybe a little bit more than Tyrion does, because he's not disgraced by her being like a little person, right? And the fact that like, but in this scene, he made it clear that he's like, you've both have disgraced me recently here. Like, you both are running around like to like, this is that, like this ends now, basically, right? Like so it just seems like he's got no like he cares more about the perception of their family than his actual family. You know what I'm saying? Like, he cares more about what the house represents and and how like honor, like their honor than about their actual feelings. Like, that's what's fucked up about him. Like, he's very cold, and obviously he's a man of war and everything else, but like a couple of the discussions I used to have with Arya in those scenes when he talks about his father and he called him a disgrace, like he's like, he disgraced the name before he died. He just cares about the fucking Lannister name. Like, he doesn't seem to care about individuals, right? Like,
He just no, he throws the testosterone around like he's king shit. He is a king, right? So he's got to be that way. So
but I also get it from the perspective of like, he's like, I've given you guys everything. You were born into this fucking rich ass family. Like, he's like, I'm out there fighting wars. You guys are here fucking around. Like, I get it. Like, I get where the anger is coming from, right? In that sense, it's just
yeah,
like, you can tell like there's no love lost, like in that sense. So for him and his kid, like they do not have, they have very big disdain for him, clearly, and you could tell in this scene. Like, it's like even Cersei, like, I mean, Cersei,
yeah.
she only cares for her children in these situations, and she's getting fucking, she's getting tossed around. You're gonna marry this one. You're gonna marry this one.
Well,
Like, he does
it's
that.
funny because I think she enjoys the testosterone part that her dad throws around, especially when it's directed at Tyrion.
Yes,
So right, but then after when it's reversed on her, it's
yes.
like you cocksucker. She
Well,
gives him that evil
that's what I mean.
bitch look.
He's loving that moment, and like, he just sprang that up out of nowhere. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna marry her," and she's like, "Oh yeah, great. See, there you go." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna marry." She's like, "What?" I don't fucking think so. He's like, "Yeah, no, that's happening." Yeah.
I gotta wait for my brother to come home. No.
Now you're making me marry a repressed gay man now, and like, homosexual.
Yeah, she's gone from
Mother?
incest
Yeah.
to now the wrong,
He went
the
from
wrong sex.
he went from a marriage of no love, like at all, like in
Yeah,
terms of like they had stopped making like banging from the time they got married. They had stopped. Like, there was like, it was like a marriage of convenience, of just like, you know what I mean, being married to
her
the,
name's.
yeah. And she went from that, a loveless marriage, to banging the brother, the incest, yeah, and now to being with a homosexual. So there you go.
She's taking a taste of everything,
There
bro.
you go. There you go. But nothing that she wants. Like, oh, I guess Jamie she wanted, but
Yeah,
and I
I don't know about when he comes back with one hand.
and if anything, I think that's a fucked up situation made out of the fact that their father created it somehow with the way he fathered them. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, for sure.
that's
They
usually
comfort each other.
I think I don't know if that's the case, but I think if
I
the if
don't have a sister, so I wouldn't know.
yeah, well, I do, but I don't think so. So I'm just saying, but I think
No, no,
that,
no.
but
No, you don't say I don't think so. You say no, not at all.
no,
Not
no,
I don't think so.
no, of course not. Fuck off. No, I'm saying I'm saying about the fact that like are the most screwed up ones the ones that are tend to do that, right? So like, obviously I think it comes from something in the parenting, obviously. Like, I don't know why else you would be wired that way to actually be down with that, right? Like,
If
so
you're only, I guess, if that's the only person you have to hang around with in a big ass castle and nothing to do, yeah, maybe you go
so
through puberty together. Who knows? I don't know, bro. I don't even know how to think of that, how that works.
no, me neither, but it's clearly common on this show. So there you go.
It's been common all of life, but you know what I mean. It is what it is.
So
So,
there you have it, a little incest conversation to end off this episode, guys.
always good.
Yeah. But um yeah. Well, I hope you guys will join us next time. We'll see you guys here next week again, same time, same place, same bat channel. You got here on the Late Night Chat Network, 8 p.m. on Thursdays. These shows usually air live, And stay tuned. Like I said, I think later on in season 3, we'll announce we're having, I think, Christina back on to kind of end out the rest of the season with us after maybe the next episode. So, yeah, so stay tuned for that, guys. And
Nice.
as always, make sure you're subscribed. Check out our playlist here on the Late Night Chat Network, all kinds of different shows. And yeah, that's great stuff. All right, Jay.
Great stuff. All right, we'll talk to you for the climb.